Yeah, I just gotta check. I think my audio is good. Yeah.
Yeah, from what I heard, everyone's audio seems pretty good.
Cool. Cool.
Yo.
All right. I guess welcome to Degen Regen. This is a new dedicated Draft League podcast where we can casually talk about the competitive meta and the draft community as a whole. I'm Sean, and I'm co-hosting with Luffy or Kyle.
Yo, what's poppin'?
And for our inaugural cast, we have some very special guests joining us tonight. We'll have them introduce themselves. I guess the first guest that we have is Rye.
Hello.
Man of
That's
many
it.
words. Our next guest is Veno.
Hello guys. Yeah, that's me.
That's it.
The Goldango
Rap.
lover. And then
Yeah,
our
big penny gang.
Snoop Dogg.
and our other guest is Harris.
Yo, what's going on? I'm also not a man of many words.
Yours is awesome.
Shut up.
This will be an interesting podcast then. So yeah, I created kind of a list of topics, questions we could talk about, but feel free to just drive the conversation wherever you want it to go, as long as it's within the realm of, Pokemon.
Of course.
Just kind of looking at this, I see like the first kind of thing is actually like something that I actually did want to like speak about first, which is like the recent like quick bans and like Smogon and like kind of like how the bans like start off like the gen, like should that translate to draft and all that. I think the bans in Smogon were what, Fluttermane and Houndstone.
Yeah,
Correct.
Yeah.
and I know Palafin is probably gonna get tested.
Iron Bundle too.
I feel like Iron Bundle gets quick banned, but Palafin just gets like suspected. Like I haven't seen like an outcry for like the banning of anything as much as I saw like for Fluttermane, because like that shit was so broken, dude. Like,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The only outcry I saw for Palafin was like a Finchinator thread. Where he kind
I
of
mean,
just
like that's weird because
gained
like I don't know, in terms of how that like translates to drafts. I mean, in general, how I would see it for draft is that there are more like dedicated answers like the things in draft, or like you can handcraft answers like the more threats. So generally, I think that we err on like the side of like things are generally less broken, but yes, like Fluttermane should probably be banned in draft as well. But like things like Palafin and basically most other ones not named Fluttermane will probably stay around for a bit.
I mean, generally speaking, most things that are broken in Smogon, like say Shadow Tech, Arena Trap, as ability wise, and like even Pokemon wise, last gen, like Spectrier, and I guess even to some extent Cinderace for leagues that allow it, or even Zamazenta, they just end up being fine, and we just end up working around it.
Yeah, because at least with draft, you're limited to what, like 8 to 12 mons, depending on the league. So you have enough tools to basically prepare for that specific mon, rather than like an entire meta.
Yeah, you can always cater mons, fine prep, etc.
And like the supporting cast of the mons is also not like nearly as strong as well, because of like the mons like rapidly like decreasing in price like as you like go down the board, as opposed to having a team with like 6 OU mons.
Yeah.
True.
I think it's not like Zama plus like it's not like Zama plus like Palafin. It's like Zama plus like Dondozo or like something like that.
Dondozo's still pretty threatening.
I mean, like yeah, but like okay, like that was like a bad example, but it's like Zama plus like Gyarados or something. Yeah. Yeah, or it's like Zama plus like Gyarados or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a better example.
Yeah.
And I don't know if any other leagues have come out with tier lists yet, but I know with LD they've come out. We come out with our tier list, and we had Fluttermane banned. So what are your thoughts on? Because you mentioned that like certain Smogon mons, even if they're banned, they would have some counterplay in draft. What are your thoughts on certain mons just being outright banned initially versus giving them a chance to be tested, whether or not they're broken or not?
Well, I think that it getting played on the ladder can also be seen as like in a draft sense where like it won't be checkable to in a sense. I think that mod will be still stupid in draft because it's not like Ghost and Fairy is like really hard to switch into unless you have like a fucking Blissey, but that shit gets 1v1 by like subcall mine.
Do you think there are enough
Yeah.
checks in the draft format, and especially like since a lot of the top threats kind of get dispersed across 8 to 16 teams, depending on how they do the draft pools. Do you think there are enough checks to it that warrants it being allowed versus being banned?
I think that like for most mons that kind of like lie in that range, like you can probably think of like some niche like low tier check, or at least like a combination of mons that are not conventional in Smogon but are in drafts like to deal with it. I think that there are a couple exceptions to that rule though. Fluttermane was definitely one of them because as Kyle said, like Ghost Fairy in this meta is basically impossible to like switch into. I think that the other mons that could fall under that train are like Iron Bundle for very similar reasons. It doesn't have a switch in the current meta outside of Blissey. And even in drafts, I don't really see a mon that would be able to deal with it on like a consistent basis like that. But yeah, most mons you could probably like create like a combination of like low tier mons that will at least take like less than 50 for it, which is really like all you need over like a sustained period.
There's only like a couple of like super niche checks, but if everyone has to draft them, then that's where it becomes problematic because there's only so many Pokemon you can get.
And with Fluttermane specifically, it's base 135 speed. Not many things can revenge it outside of being scarfed, and you sure as hell you're not going to revenge it with a special attack.
Yeah, not to mention the booster energy item too that can raise the speed. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, depending on your investments. Yeah.
Yeah, so like you get a free speed boost, calm mind up, and just do the same thing that Specs would, no switching.
The only thing that kind of works against Fluttermane is like it's weak to most priority, I guess. But even then, like if it just like kills him on every time like it comes in, like that's like still going to overbear you over like generally like over like the course of that game, anyways.
Yeah.
I mean, the same was true in Smogon too, but it was like still banned from there.
There haven't been a whole lot of leagues to really see how Fluttermane would fare too, so I'm kind of interested to see how that goes.
Yeah, if anything, I mean, if it was allowed, depends if it was also going to be complex ban, whether it was allowed to use, be a Terra captain or not, or even have access to booster energy.
What are y'all's like thoughts on that in general? Like the cases of like complex spending like Terra and like booster energy like as items, because I've seen a couple of that too. I think I'm not sure if it's a step in the right direction. I feel like it is just kind of like a beginning of the gen thing, just to like test out broken shit. But I don't think that mons like that are gonna stay for long. I think Roaring Moon, Polt, Iron Bundle. I think those all mons. I think those are all mons that come to mind. I think that those mons will go eventually if further action is taken on Terra. So
I'm not fond of it personally because like with photosynthesis and quark drive abilities in general, you still have to like work around like sun and then also like electric terrain, and eventually those threats will like, well, not eventually, possibly come with DLC to also increase the power. And at that point, it's like, where does complex go? Do you just like ban only booster energy, ban sun, ban on specific bonds, stuff like that? And with Terra, that's even more of a complex thing because any Pokemon can Terra. So
I know for early gen, a lot of people want to use the new mons and not have it just outright banned. So I can definitely see the appeal for complex banning. I'm kind of 50-50 on it. I like it in some cases, just so I can see how the mon would function in the format with some limitation. But some mons I do believe like complex, like if it requires too many complex bans, it's probably worth just keeping it banned.
I think
Agreed.
it would be a mistake to ban Terra overall. I think that the longer that new mechanic is around, I think it's just going to allow for the metagame to still be diverse as we keep going forward. We saw with no Dynamax how even with the new toys we got in Gen 8, the meta just became stale. And I don't want that to repeat. I feel like Terra, with enough limitations, can be freed, you know? But some of these demons might just need to be banned outright.
I mean, like Terra, like as a whole, is kind of funny to me. Like just because, like I don't know, I want to see it in leagues or like in like kind of like 12-month format. I think that overall, at least like one captain or like the point system that's been established is pretty good. Yeah, I think like you said, I definitely think it helps like meta diversity, and it's not at a period where I think it's too overbearing yet for 10. Amon is a different story, and I could see it possibly having, or I think it could be, have to be like limited enough in Amon for it to be possibly worth banning. But I know that there are tours doing both Terra and non-Terra formats, so I guess we'll just see how that goes. But I would probably lean more towards the ban side for Amon.
Yeah, we were having
Do
a
y'all
discussion with. Oh yeah, you can go.
I was gonna ask, do y'all think that the meta won't be as diverse? You know, with all these like paradox mons and like all these like viable new mons, like early gen. Don't y'all think that it's not? I mean, it is gonna be that diverse, even without Terra.
I think it will be diverse enough because like even if it's like not around, like there is still a lot of like moveset and mechanic changes that make it way different from
Gen 8.
yeah, and also like this is probably the most or like the highest influx of like good mons that like we've had like ever.
Yeah.
Like most like new mons that are like introduced are really impactful on like the meta, which makes it like a lot more unique, I want to say. And the main other thing as well is like the hazards game being so different kind of is also very different from how Gen 8 was.
Yeah, and you got like Hale getting a buck too. You got like some of these slush rush users getting good viability.
Everything getting hazards, like you said,
Everything getting
like
hazards.
And also nothing getting removal either.
You don't need
Sad.
it. Just run boots.
Oh yeah, no knockoffs in the game, so boots will stay in forever.
Yeah, I mean, like, this one, like, I'm glad for Boots, bros.
Now imagine boots wasn't in the game.
we'd be finished.
Matter, I might quit the game, like, low key. No, dude, I like Gen 6, but I've had enough of, like, a crazy, like, hazard gen.
Yeah, we can
I do
leave
not
that
want that
to
again.
Oras. Only Oras.
Yeah, for real, bro. Kind of like going under that blanket, there was also kind of like the point that, like with like all these like meta changes, like that involve like hazards, like new mons, like all that stuff. Like people are saying that like the meta is going to be really offensive, and like stuff like balance and stall is just like going to get killed off. What do you guys think about that? Yeah.
I see a lot of bulky offensive teams, run the ladder as recently. Like I know like Shadow and them run like HO teams with like Glamora lead. But I've seen like a lot of like bulky archetypes that just like, go on for like 30 turns, just be just as good as HO right now.
Yeah,
Like, I don't think they're completely dead, but like they're not like the most like optimal, but they could definitely be used.
I know upon first impression of seeing all the mons and kind of having an outline of what the meta could be, I was in the party that I thought offense was probably going to be the most predominant thing. It still is going to be, I feel, but yeah, I feel like stall and bulky offense will find their niche in this meta. It's not going to be completely dead. I think the games will probably be a little bit more accelerated because you can't stall out turns with like infinite or not infinite with like 16 PP recovers and like roost. It's half now, but you still have the ability to um you know make the battle last longer, and especially with better hazard support too. I feel like things are going to be able to get worn down quickly over time.
Agree. And like when you're playing longer games with less PP, that means like a lot of decision making is like a lot more crucial. It doesn't mean those type of bulkier styles are dead, but it just makes them, I'd say, probably hard to play in a sense. So I would say that's why people lean towards just using straight offense. But I don't think straight offense is gonna like last for a while because it makes stuff way too volatile. So bulky offense and balances they've installed to some extent have their place. Like
I think that it's like mainly dangerous to balance because I feel like bulky offense and like BO and stall both like kind of lean toward one side or like can flex to like adapt like to one side. Whereas like balance is I think that leaning away from the offensive side while not leaning enough into like the stall side will create more problems than it solves. And also I think that generally like drafts prep and play has recently trended to be more offensive. Like I think that overall offense will thrive. Like stall will be good even if it's a rare thing, and balance will suffer. Uh, so because like offense players are also just going to find more ways to create like new things.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see what these early draft leagues are gonna like. What type of cores or yeah, what type of cores they're mainly gonna come up with. Because I think things are definitely going to be scuffed, but there are definitely going to be some hidden gems, especially in the kind of in the lower tiers.
I think a lot of people are just gonna YOLO, just draft whatever, see what works, and then go from there.
like a lot of
I'll
good.
just I go ahead.
There's like a lot of great pivots for bulky offense too. Like even with new mons or mons that are coming to the game, like Great Tusk, Iron Treads, like Pokemon like Tinglu, like etc. Like bulky offense is looking like really good. It's in a good state. It has good pivots, good hitters, everything for it. Like
It definitely it has a lot of the positives of HO without having like it's like some of like the most like negative drawbacks, which is why it's the style I like to play the most. And I think that it'll definitely I think that it's overall in a pretty flourishing spot. Yeah. Especially because like a lot of the new best like crazy like breaker offensive mons aren't really that fast. Like you got mons, like Excalibur, Goldengo,
She-Fish.
like you. Yeah.
mhm.
Like there's like a lot of new mons. Both Donphan forms also fall under that. Palafin. Like there's a lot of mons that are not very fast, but they make up for it in bulk and breaking ability. Like so overall, like hyper offense might like eclipse it in like the raw like hitting speed, but I feel like bulky offense will definitely have more like consistent tools as like a result of just how many mons are good on it. This gen.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I know initially I thought bulky offense might not be able to, I guess, find a sustainable niche in this meta, but the more replays I watched, and I finally got myself, involved in seeing how Smogon has adapted to all of the threats. I'm definitely more get the word
Optimistic.
Yeah, kind of. I'm optimistic about it moving forward.
I guess like the main block for like bulky offense is like kind of uh like Terra. I feel like is more annoying for it than most other uh, uh like like team like structures in like particular. I feel like it's less annoying for something like HO and like stall because like both of like those teams have greater like emergency means like to beat Terra, whereas bulky offense that's not the same. But Terra's in general is like kind of like scrutinized, so like I don't know how long that stays either. It's like hard to say.
I think Terra stays for a bit. Wait, we're talking about Smogon?
Just like in general, like smoke on drafts. I guess like pertaining more to the drafts, but I think we already like touched on that a little bit.
Yeah.
I did kind of want to go back to Terra in 8mon. You mentioned it. We had a discussion about that earlier in the chats where you think that having the ability to Terra in 8mon is too the word you used was over centralizing, or you think it's going to be too hard to check with the limited tools that you have at your disposal. I kind of agree. Do you think there's any way that it could be balanced in 8mon, or is it just the issue with like complex bans for those top threats? It just the more you complex it, it's just better off being banned like overall.
I think you give it to like a lower point. Like a mine that's like below like 8 points, maybe to maybe balance it. But
I mean, like yeah, but like that's like the same shit that like people try to do with like Dynamax though. So like, why not just ban it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's true.
I like that it makes a lot more mons that weren't viable though a lot more viable. Like especially in this meta where we do not have a ton of mons. I like that it's so shaken up that and a lot more mons have viability with Terra. Makes it way more interesting.
I don't know. Maybe like you could do like one like Terra cap, but I feel like people kind of don't see like when they look at Amon, like how different it really is from 10, like an 11 in general because of how much like roll compression like you need to have, and like I feel like Terra will kind of overstep its boundaries into that because the amount of mons that are generally draftable in Amon is so much smaller than in 10, or like 11 mon. Like that, like when you like get down to it, like abusers of both offensive and a bulkier like terror strategy will have to like commit instead of like 3 to 4 movesets a game for like their main counterplay. It's like only 2. I think that becomes a massive problem. I think in a general sense that I don't think will be very blockable in like terms of like
Not
how
health,
to
not
deal with
like
it.
competitively balanced or healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but like I said again, it is definitely positive in like what mons it allows to be better. So I think that that is like the one positive.
yeah, and someone did bring up the issues with allowing like lower tier mons only having access to Terra is that it raises their value on a point tier list. So like, how do you balance certain mons only being viable with Terra, and then like going down in value if they can't, and then like putting that on a point tier list with everything else.
Absolutely.
That is true.
I guess the clear example is like you take Regieleki with Terra and Regieleki without Terra are 2 completely different Pokemon. So, and if you like look at, I guess, low tier Pokemon that could benefit from Terra, I guess like a quick example would just be like, I guess any prominent special attacker, like, could just like do for that role. And then it becomes, okay, what is their value with Terra? What is their value without Terra? And then sometimes you just may end up drafting Pokemon that are like way above their value because their value is considered with Terra and not without it. So this is how I feel on the matter.
I feel like we definitely kind of had that happen with at least with the LD tier list when we made it. I feel like we definitely had oversights on that. some mons were just completely elevated because of the Terra access, but remove that access, that mon doesn't. It's not really worth the value that we put him at, and like I find that pretty tough to balance. Another, I guess, another like Terra balance option could be drafting Terra types to your team rather than just having free Terra options on a particular mon. What are your thoughts on that? Because I know with Z moves, people did that in the past as well.
I mean, I guess at that point, like that kind of like it like kind of like telegraphs a lot of like what like your Terra users can be, which kind of makes it similar to like a Terra captain. I guess I don't know. It's a really weird system that I've never really seen before in Z even, so like it'd be hard to really like give a super educated like opinion on it. But it's not a system that like I would jump to use.
Yeah, I don't think I would do it either.
Yeah, because I know with the one league with Z, it was just you just drafted one type, but in their case they didn't. Yeah, they didn't reuse any of the types, so like you could have just ended up with an awful Z type at the end of the draft. But
imagine like drafting like Z bug or some shit. Like somebody else gets like Z like.
But the thing is, they
Ghost or something.
they
That's
did
demon.
they did incorporate, I think, the Z within the draft. So like you could draft your Z crystal at any point during the draft along with your mons. So like you would use your turn to draft a Z crystal or something like that.
Oh.
I don't know, I just feel like with Terra, I mean, it's kind of similar. Like if you draft a particular Terra type, your opponent knows like that is the part, like the specific type that you can run, and then if you still have Terra captains, those are the only mons that can use that particular typing, or typings if you're able to draft more than one. I don't know, I think it could be interesting. I think for now, allowing like at least with non 8-mon drafts, like 1 to 2 Terra captains seems fine enough. But if people are looking for like ways to create diversity in the format with this new mechanic, I think it's something they could try to explore.
I always personally felt that more than one like Terra Captain was always going to be way too much in any meta, because like it kind of leads it to like the same problem that exists on the Smogon ladder, which is you don't know like which mon is going to Terra at any like, given point, and like I guess like you can like kind of tell based on like team structure, but it's never like a given. I think that one like Terra Cap actually has a chance of being healthy, because like you at least know that it's going to be a large factor in like how they might build up mon, as opposed to like having to prep for exponentially different like, possibilities in like multiple different mons, which is kind of like it creates a lot more
Yeah, I can.
possibilities than you would think.
Yeah, I can see that becoming an issue. It's a prep nightmare, but I feel like it just also would create a ton of mind games within the game, because you're playing basically without the knowledge of anything, and your opponent kind of just has the upper hand in those type of positions.
Right. I don't think I've seen people try Terra points, but I don't think that'll work personally. I just think a Terra captain and it's just like fine as is. Like
Points, yeah, points could be
Yeah,
a double-edged sword, because like if you're drafting something like at the very high point tier, you're left with just like a really low tier option, which I still think is okay. But like depending on what mon you draft, you could technically get 2 very viable and potent offensive mons with Terra access. So that would come up with what Veno said would be an issue, like not knowing in prep and then also in game, like which one is going to Terra, what type could they be. It just like at that point, do you even prep for it?
Yeah, like I think it kind of like takes like the fundamental aspect of like draft league out, and it kind of like reduces like the ability of players to like get better like through like building up like their prep over time, because like at that point, if you look at strain prep like that much and make it so that players either have to over prep or just under prep for so many possibilities, if you go the under prep side of things, you basically just have everyone trying to build like hyper offense and just win the game within 15 turns because like that's like the only options, or like over prep and it just becomes a large guessing game and you just end up losing if you get it wrong in like any sense. And either of those is obviously not a healthy metagame.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I guess we can try to transition to another topic. So I think the game itself in the post-home regional decks adds about like around 500 Pokemon total across the older generations and then the new generation. Are there any like specific Pokemon that you're most looking forward to see like using or seeing develop in this meta? Like particular strategies or cores of like particular Pokemon together. Do you think certain like cores are gonna flop, or like anticipated cores that you think are gonna be good are gonna flop, or they're gonna just dominate the meta? And if there are any like sleeper picks or like off the radar mons that people aren't really talking about. I know that was a lot of questions.
Should be broken. I think Fighting Spam could be broken. I think that's
There
a
are
core.
too many big fighting types in this generation. Too many.
Yeah, there's a lot. I feel like a lot of them could just go off, especially with barely any fairy types.
Ever Shifu in a game without Clef, like
Yep.
or G-Weezy, or Buzzwole. We just have
No
Slitherwind.
fairies in
pretty
general,
much.
it makes it like such a, or like no fairies in general, like makes it like such a good different meta, because we can pretty clearly see that like Ghost Dark and fighting are like or like Ghost Dark fighting and Dragon are like what seems to be like the king stabs like in this gen.
Yeah.
And like there's a lot of mons I think could be like under like the radar picks, mostly from older gens, like that I saw that could definitely be like underrated picks. Like two picks that actually I was actually looking at a lot that like stuck out to me were two of the Galarian birds, Zapdos and Moltres. I think that because of like their typings, I think that both of those mons have the potential to go largely under the radar. Even though Gmold is already really popular, I think that putting it in a super offensive meta is like going to help it even more than how it was back in Gen 8 when it was really popular. And like Gzap just has a really good stab combination for this meta. Because like fighting flying is so strong, and it like has a lot of good fight utility as well.
Mm-hmm.
I also think Sneasler's going to be pretty good in a meta that's like, I guess, has a lot of hazards with like limited removal to stop it, with its speed, unburdened, U-turn, and access to like fairly good coverage, I would say. That's like an option to look forward to. I know there's like Lander's T in the game, but not everyone can have Lander's T and stuff like that. And it just seems like it'll be a pretty good option.
Not to mention,
Poison Touch.
yeah, I was about to say Poison Touch on like, especially on pivots, like walls that come in or like certain pivots that come in, poisoning them, potentially just putting them down in range over time. It definitely facilitates.
I've been having so much fun playing a meta where Lando's not around. I am less than excited for that mon to be back again. Holy shit. I hate Landers, dude. Yeah.
Everybody does.
It's been so
Lando's will be just as good.
It's been so dominant since its inception,
Gen
Gen 5.
And it's still gonna be as good, man. I hate this mon. Well, I guess it's like a little weaker, but it's like still gonna be good. Yeah. I mean, they lost like knockoff, right?
Yeah.
Thank God.
Knockoff and defog.
Rock Polish.
Yeah. That's
Oh,
a
you
big
lost
one.
Polish? Let's go.
Yeah.
Polish.
Let's go.
You put a day in, it loses U-turn.
Dude, that would be the greatest day of my life.
Still be good. That mom would still be good, just not top tier. Like
at that point, I'll just use like Great Tusk if it lost
True.
U-turn.
Or Iron Treads. Or Iron Treads, because I learned today that Iron Treads gets actually a Volt Switch.
Yeah.
Like, so that is looking like a decent pivot.
Oh, wait, he gets Volt Switch?
Yeah, bro.
Actually, I think most of the Iron Mons do.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even like
Yeah.
the Iron Hariyama one gets Volt Switch.
Hariyama and T-Tar do.
Like, they're like
Actually, I don't think
electric
Iron
switch, though, so like,
Monster-
that makes sense.
Yeah, they're like all futuristic.
I guess like the other mod that I'm really hyped for is my boy Big Penny, aka Goldengo.
Mon's fire.
That mon is really like unique in the gen and it has like so many like opportunities to be used in so many like other unique core strategies because it's the only mon in the game that's ever been immune to both spin and fog, I think. And
Yeah.
it beats most foggers anyway. So
A limited few foggers that exist.
I'm happy to see Grimmsnarl get some love with parting shot.
Or
Come on, really
sleeper
fire.
mons. Let's see. Let's take a look here. Let
Right,
me take a look.
Right, pulling out that tier list.
I think a sleeper mon most definitely is this Samurott. Now I use this mon in a speed tour, and I think this mon just being able to click Ceaseless Edge. Number one, you're getting off damage, but number two, you're setting up a layer each time. I just think that mon will be crazy. Now it won't be game breaking, but I think it's a really good low tier pick because it has so much utility.
Just speed stat.
yo, dude, I just found out what Ceaseless Edge is, dude. This shit is broken. What the fuck?
Yeah. Ceaseless
What?
Edge is good.
Yo.
It's 85 speed, but I just think that move alone gives it so much viability. Now what else? I think another sleeper pick is Articuno Galar. That mon with Terra is actually viable now. Because you can basically Terra into any type to finally give it some coverage for what it needs to hit, mainly like steals and like darks and all that. And that mon has really good bulk and recovery and setup. So very good mon with Terra. What else? I think that's about it.
I guess like the only other really low tier one that I saw was like Gyarados is pretty good with like Terra for like similar reasons because it has like reasonable bulk and it has pretty good except opportunities. But like Gyarados is also like one of those mons that if it breaks the one thing that's in its way, it's going to go pretty nuts. And like Terra will give it the opportunity to like do that in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
Basically, like a Z move on it.
I think another mon I was talking with Veno about earlier was Espatra, I believe is what it's called.
Yeah.
That's the go. That's the go.
I did not know this mon has a 80 base power move that 100% lowers the spin death by 2 stages.
Broken.
And it also gets like speed boost, calm mind, stored power, Bruce. The only problem is it can't actually touch steals, but when you give it like a Terra, I think the mon can actually be like pretty decent, not gonna lie. Like,
and yeah,
It
even
also
if
gets opportunist, which is pretty funny or like it's pretty funny from like a draft standpoint.
and yeah, even if you have a steel type, that thing doesn't want to come in and then get its Spadef dropped. Why?
It also has U-turn. You can just U-turn on the steel types and go into like a fighting type or some shit.
Ooh.
That's another mon that I see that's pretty low, but I've seen it kind of be a menace on the ladder is Skeledirge, the fire starter.
yes.
Yes,
It's
sir.
cash. Like,
Oh,
I
it
think
was
that's
bulky
like
when I was facing it. I was bulky.
I think it's like adequately priced because it definitely has like a lot of drawbacks because like fire like fire like has its pros and its cons as like a fat typing. But like that thing has reasonable bulk and like a Fizdef Ghost with Unaware is like definitely a great niche for like a lot of like the fightings in the meta. Like it's one of like the few mods that can really like stand up to Valiant. Which in and of itself is a great niche.
Also has a move that 100% raises the special attack stat.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
it's
it has
pretty
1 sense
strong
attack
too.
Yeah.
It's like a basically it's like an 80 base power move as well.
Yeah.
Access to slack off, which is pretty nice.
Willow hack.
Fire Ghost coverage with Earth Power is pretty much all it needs. Like,
Yeah,
Wait, he got Earth Power too?
yeah, it does.
yeah.
Oh, that's pretty fire.
I think
I thought
another.
it'd be. Oh,
Actually, no, I
Oh,
can't reveal this mon. Never mind. I take it back. Continue going.
yeah.
You know, I can't reveal this mon for certain purposes.
Hey, I mean this podcast might not even come out by the time you draft it.
No. For the people in this call, I can't.
Mm.
Looking at Veno.
You should
he
DM me on the
can't-
side.
he
DM
Yeah,
me
dude,
on
I
the
got
side.
some crazy things up my sleeve, no cap.
Can't know
But,
about this.
I thought that like the fire ghost thing, or like the what's its name? Like the one that we just
Skeledirge?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I thought it'd be S, but like mainly because it was in comparison to Masquerada and the duck thing. But honestly, I've seen it used more than the duck thing. Or no. I mean, I've probably seen it like used more than both now.
Yeah, I mean with the access of Terra, I think people have been running like Terra Fairy with it on the ladder. I think like you said, Fire Ghost is like a pretty niche defensive typing. The Ghost part of its typing definitely helps, but I think being able to resist Fairy is also pretty useful. Because like I saw it when I first saw it, I'm like, oh, unaware. The physical bulk is pretty decent, so it can kind of help check some like stronger setup threats, I guess, like the fighting types, like Zamazenta, forces it to run like Crunch, but like if you get burned, it's like over. And then same with like Iron Valiant, being able to resist or be immune to both stabs.
Kind of like on the opposite end though. I was like kind of like thinking because I kind of like compared it to Masquerada and Quack, which are like two mons that I thought would be a lot more drafted but are not. Are there any mons that like you guys think are overvalued so far, or like kind of like you don't have as higher of like expectations for in the meta? Like that the general community is
I think.
giving it.
I think Iron Threads, is a little bit overvalued at this point. Now the mod is definitely good, for its speed and spin, but ultimately 112 attack is not that strong. And from just use, I think that it's pretty weak and passive. It doesn't have toxic. I don't think it has sleep talk, so you can't run rest sets. And to me, the mon just doesn't do that much outside of spin. So I think that mon will end up being lowered at some point.
I didn't even know it didn't get Sleep Talk. What is this?
Yeah.
Legends Arceus?
Wait, doesn't it get sleep talk? Oh
No.
man.
That's
kinda
another
ass.
Pokemon. I think another Pokemon that's I was just looking at it. Oh, yeah, another Pokemon that I thought was just be like fairly good or decent, but just ends up like I haven't really been seeing much of it. Is Enamorous, because it finally came to this game and got like a fair amount of coverage. But I don't know. I just haven't been seeing it lately. It doesn't get U-turn, which
Enamorous is so interesting. I think that mon could be actually pretty decent, especially
it's
Terra.
like bulkier. Yeah, for sure.
I
It's like
think
a lot.
it definitely needs Terra if you're going to be drafting it. Just because the flying type really does hurt it with its speed. But I think if you start superpower boosting, and then you Terra into a type that you can be killed, I think it could end up being really scary. Same thing with the Enamorous T. I think those mons with Terra could be very scary.
I actually kind of like the Enamorous T a little bit more than the Enamorous I. I feel like it's not as fast as you want it to be, especially in a meta where like you have a ton of new, faster Pokemon. I think its speed tier is like 106.
Yeah, 106.
Yeah, it's like 106. I just feel like I didn't really like that speed tier, and especially a lot of the mons it would have generally outsped are kind of gone, or like not as good as they were. But I think the bulk on like Enamor's Tea, especially with like Draining Kiss sets with like Calm Mind, I know it gets Iron Defense, and being able to change its typing to the matchup, I think could actually be pretty scary.
I generally as well. I kind of like. I actually do like both forms quite a lot, and like I disagree with like overall the overvaluation criticism, just because I think that like Fairy Stab, especially like an offensive Fairy Stab, is like such a hot commodity in like the meta right now, and it covers a lot of like strong mons. I think that generally like teams will have like less answers for, or like it covers like dragons, darks, and fightings all in one, and it's a mon that can be Choice Scarfs, which is very, very good overall in the metagame. It's going to be very anti-meta, I think. Both forms.
It could be scary. It could be scary later. Just right now, I haven't seen much of it, really, to be honest. But there's a lot of new toys in this meta, so.
I think another mon that the reason I think it's a bit overvalued is because I don't think I would draft it for where it is Lando Eye. I wasn't already hot on Lando Eye the previous generation. I feel like losing Rock Polish kind of hurts because you can't even run like supersets. Obviously, it's still a breaker. Access to Terra would be. It definitely needs Terra. Like if you grab it, I feel like so many mons got ice coverage, like the Ice Spinner move. And then yeah, I think it's mainly the Ice Spinner move, but like a lot of mons got ice coverage for this thing. A lot of the ice types have Ice Shard as well. I feel like it's not as potent an 18-point mon should be for me. At least that's where we tiered it.
I agree. That mon sucks.
I think it is definitely like below a tier from Iron Bundle and Spec, especially Iron Bundle, because like that mon shouldn't even be 18. It should be higher. But for me, I guess my answer would be probably Palafin. I think that in ladder, I've obviously played a lot of that, and I think that you can easily build a team that is able to defensively beat most like Palafins, even if it's like through like a combination of checks. And I think in draft, like draft league as a whole is kind of based around creating like a combination of checks like to those like kinds of mons, like in a way. I think that teams will have generally like consistent checks to Palafin, or like 1 and 2 like checks that like neutralize most sets that it can do, because its main niche is just beating HO with like Jet Punch. But Water Stab is not as good as you would think it is, especially in a metagame like this that actually has quite a lot of bulky waters and bulky grasses. So I don't think that mon will be as good as people are saying as well.
To be fair, you could Terra Water it and it just blow every water check back.
Oh, it's probably way dumber with like Terra, yeah.
A guy like me is drafting Dondozo just for that mon. That's why that mon is 7 points.
Yeah,
that is real. That is real.
That is a mon. That is a mon that I did not think would be as good and annoying as it is, but it's cash. Like
Quasar right there too.
Like those guys smoke.
Yeah, Palafin, unfortunately, Palafin destroys Cloudsire. I'm sorry.
Oh, does it?
Yes, that one is too strong.
Zen.
Yeah, with Zen headbutt.
Oh, yeah, Zen. Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Oh wait, yo, never mind. I forgot I got Zen too.
Because there's the Mungus too. That's tough.
I think
my boy Don doesn't take away from Zen though.
Armor Rouge is gonna be a sleeper. Y'all sleeping on that mon. That's the new big
see it honestly.
That's the new big
That's the new big
I'm not lying. Why would I lie?
Nah, bro, just lied on the stream. Nah.
No. You gotta think. Number one, this mon has insane coverage. It got a fire type special CC, and it has weak armor. This mon will be goated. I know. Trust.
Just gonna run that patented teeny set, speed boosting plus weakness policy, and just run stored power.
Exactly.
Bulk isn't bad. Looking at it,
85, 180.
The fact that it's weak to every priority move. Ignore that. We move you up.
I
Now, what
mean,
I really sleep on is a Titan. The
I don't think
Hail
anybody's
buff.
like sleeping in on that Mondo.
I feel like people know about that mon. We know about that demon. The belly drum sets are too strong.
I was hoping it could be an underrated gem. I'm sad.
We know.
Wait, actually, wait.
I remember when we were tiering it and I was looking at it. I think it really only gets belly drum. That's like it's set up.
Yeah, I thought that
That means
SP
that
was
mon
better.
can set up bellies though. It's too fat.
It's too fat.
It's Mamma before Mem was in the game. Like,
One more
Good
mon
coverage, too.
that I just kind of like took like notice of, and it's kind of like the last mon that I would see is Reggie Drago. Terra on that guy is low key very, very strong.
Yeah.
Because
I
especially
use
with like
that.
Dragon Stab like being like really good in the meta now.
Yeah, I use that, and that mon's bulk, along with Dragon Dance, and Terra can easily make it a setup nightmare. Because if you turn into, let's say, a steel type or a poison type, and you eliminate your check, nothing's taking a boosted dragon move after that. So, and it's fat. So yeah, that mon will definitely be good.
I think it's
Yeah.
pretty cheap too, isn't it? Like 10 or like 11? Yeah.
It's 11. Yeah.
Ooh.
It used to be lower, but
I
right.
had to put a tap on it.
Yeah, he had to raise it. I mentioned like, especially with we're using point Terra captains. I said like, imagine getting like a Volcarona and then like a Reggie Drago as your combo Terras, and so he moved it up to 11 to avoid such an issue.
Right.
The only reason why Reggie Drago isn't higher is because of its speed. I think in this meta, there's a lot of fast mons and a lot of mons I notice around the 85, 80s range. So I think that your saving grace is the fact that you maybe can have a scarf or two to outspeed Reggie Drago if it tears. But other than that, that mon is very strong.
And going back to what we mentioned about like bulky offense, being a little bit having like favors fortuned, or yeah, I think I said that right. I don't know. But it's like pretty fortunate in that type of meta. Like it can live any one hit, which allows it to set up. Especially in a meta where screens can be very potent because the defog access is like non-existent. I think the 80 speed might not be as like it might not hold it back as bad as we think, especially since you'll probably get multiple opportunities to set up.
Draft players also in general love screens. Like I see like that used like a lot more often than in any like smoke on sense as well. Like that should be a common archetype.
A single screen could go a long way.
Mm-hmm. And then another mon that I think a lot of people kind of cast it off because of what it lost, but I still think could actually be very good, especially with Terra, is Rillaboom. Like obviously it lost Glide, so it doesn't have strong priority, but it did get access to Trailblaze, and obviously has a Terra option. It could be like Terra Rock or Terra Electric for the kind of just the only thing that checks it, which is like the flying type. So yeah, I think that mon could actually put in work.
How much is that mon now?
We
It's pretty
put it.
cheap, isn't it? Like 10 in LD?
We put
Something
it.
like that?
We put it at 12.
Ooh.
I think it was like at 10, but I asked for it to go up because I thought
Who?
Rillaboom.
Oh, I think people are sleeping on that mon.
Because I think
don't realize the mon is still decent.
yeah, SD Woodhammer is still gonna dent things, or like even SD with Trailblaze, and then you could just Terra type with Terra Blast 80 base power.
Like you said, Sean, I think it's just like kind of like an adaptation period because like Rilla is a different mod now.
Yeah.
Like previously like its role, and I didn't like Rilla that much in Gen 8 or like by the end of Gen 8. It was basically just like I click glide, and I click knockoff, and it was going to click U-turn. But now with like Terra, it definitely is able to actually like take advantage of its own checks a lot more because like grass stab is individually not super strong, unlike how it functioned in Gen 8. So I think it could definitely have some use now that you mentioned that.
And obviously, grassy terrain, like a meta where like not many people were saying the recovery move nerf was significant. I mean, grassy terrain recovery is still pretty good. You could probably run it with like life orb drum beating. So a lot of the faster flying checks can't really even come in because then you threaten them out immediately with Terra typing. So yeah, I think this mon has good potential. And
I
then
think Sarah Ledge could be another good mod too.
What is the Sarah Ledge?
The equivalent to armor rules, but it's physical.
The fire
Oh.
ghost, edgy guy.
Mega Man.
Oh yeah, this guy.
I think
Kind of cool.
I think it's slightly faster. I think it's like 85 versus Armor's is 75 speed.
Yep.
Oh yeah, he looks not bad. He gets pretty good coverage too.
Obviously gets
Sneak.
access to sneak as well, so you can try to outpace certain priority moves against it.
Also gets
I think I
flame
get, like,
charge.
It gets like Flare Blitz, I think Shadow Claw, and it gets like CC, which is
It's just
perfect
CC.
coverage, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Middle blade. The fire physical draining kiss. The stronger.
Yeah. I can honestly see it being a decent scarfer as well, especially with a recovery move like that.
Delibird, the Delibird Iron Bundle, the broken. It's faster than it. Just a couple of high meta threats, unfortunately, are just unkind to it. But it has potential as like a low tier pick. Like I'd say, like
I mean, like even then, for how many for how many high minimons are unkind to it, Ghost Stab is broken, and it always will be. So that obviously like works a lot in its favor.
It's so interesting how many dark types we have in this meta. Too many dark types.
And ghost types.
Yeah, this game gave us a lot of darks.
But there are like literally a million dark types.
Low kicks, the goat.
I actually like that because it feels like, or like this feels like the first gen to me where like psychics are not a crazy strong factor, which is something I really like.
Yeah, last gen.
Gen 9 gave us a lot of crazy good dark types, and then there's Brute-Bot and Iron Jugulus, but we got a lot of crazy good dark types. But
No, dude, Iron Jugulus is a sleeper. Iron Jugulus is low-key crazy.
I don't know, bro.
Disappointing.
No, that mom with Terra could be fire.
But it's
I mean,
like,
like,
it's
it's pretty
weak,
strong, and it's like not slow. Yeah.
I have to see someone give it some love, give it some action. I have a hard time believing it, just looking at it on paper.
The only time I've seen it do something is because Veno didn't know it was a flying type. That's the
Yeah,
only
it's
time.
a flying type, so I got quick fight in a speed throw. Dude, I thought it was Dark Dragon.
Oh god.
Yeah. And no, dude, I got smoked. But yeah, overall, like, there's a lot of cool like new mons that even that I'm really like optimistic about like the meta, and like yeah, I like the ghost and I also like the ghost and the darks even. I feel like it kind of balances each other out in a way. The only real big change is like no fairies, but even then, that I think is a positive change.
You do have
in general.
the surplus of fightings as well, so it kind of counters a little bit of the dark spam that could be coming. And then speaking of dark types, oh yeah, you can go.
There's also a confirmed DLC with like a Suicune and a Virizion form, so there could be a lot more Pokemon to come and even like progress the meta further. There's like I'm very optimistic for now and for the future for sure. Like
yeah, and then going back to dark types, the new legendary quartet, the dark tapus as people call them. What are your thoughts on these mons? And obviously, we now have their confirmed ability effects, being they lower particular stats, not like stat stages, but the actual stats of mons by 25%. What are your thoughts on those? And do you think some of these mons are kind of overhyped, or some of these forms are actually kind of slept on?
I think they're decently talked about. I think all four of them are, well, I guess three. I don't hear people talk about the snail one as much, but
There's a 3 and then Wochien.
yeah,
It's
I think the
talked
fish,
about.
ice leopard, and what's the other one? The ground one,
The
Tinglu.
moose?
Yeah.
Yeah, the moose.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. Big
Those three are
Tinglu.
fire.
I actually used Wochian in a speed tour, and I actually like thought it was better than I think people like gave it credit for. Like, it's not on the level of like the other three, but it is definitely like or like has like a lot of special defense. Uh, it's not weak, and it has and it has a lot of like annoying moves, like Leech Seed, Ruination, which is the new uh,
Nature's Madness.
yeah, and
Knockoff.
yeah, a knockoff is a big one as well because that's not really widely distributed. I think that mod is going to be solid. Yeah.
Also, it gets like foul play and well, has base 70 speed taunt, which isn't like all that, but it has something. So
From my use of Tinglu, that mon is pretty nice because you only need 2 moves on it, being Earthquake and Ruination, and then you just throw on like any hazard you want, and like Whirlwind or something, so that you're not setup fodder. And I'm on a super bulky, like very very bulky. Good mon.
I guess I was a little underwhelmed with Chiyu because it's slow, but like that mod is so strong that it might not even matter in like some points.
Bro, that shit Chuikyo Slow King. That shit is crazy. Look, overheat.
I mean, like it is a dark type. I would hope that it can 2 Slow King.
Or
Look
no,
overheat,
that's what's in there with overheat.
Yeah, yeah.
mhm.
Mod is
that mon
disgusting.
could be like a pretty good scarfer. The only thing that's underwhelming, like Veno said, is just the speed. 100 is kind of okay for it in general, and like Fire Dark isn't like that great of a typing to switch its stuff into, but it could be like a really good Revenger because it won't need like a whole lot of chip when it lowers the SPDF of every Pokemon on the field. So it's interesting to talk about. And then Qian Pao is like kind of obviously the most talked about one due to its speed, power, sword stance, and plenty of other coverage.
I didn't know until today that Chien Pao has kind of like a sword dagger thing, part of its feature. I thought that was just like icicle beard or something.
Is it not like both?
It is kind of like both, but I didn't even know it was anything. Like someone told me it was a sword. I was like,
yeah.
whoa, what?
Because like the ladder icon kind of looks like nothing. Yeah.
But yeah, do you think the presence of Chien? I mean, obviously on the ladder it has Chien Pao is kind of overshadowed Weavile because it basically gets the same things but better. Even more priority. I mean, it's just as strong with raw attack, but then you add in the ability, and it's definitely a lot harder to handle. Do you think Weavile will kind of just be forgotten about and like people won't draft it? Because I feel like I feel like losing triple axle as well. I feel like Weavile's kind of just not. I feel like it's not going to be as prevalent, at least early gen.
I think people just draft it because of the speed. That's really it.
I mean, it does get knockoff still, which is like definitely needed that.
Oh, it lost.
It lost.
Oh, it did lose knockoff. My bad. The Nat Dex,
Yeah.
Nat Dex on Showdown lies to me.
I actually really disagree with like the sentiment that Weavile is going to be forgotten about because of Genpao. Because the whole difference with drafts in comparison to Smogon is that not every team is going to be able to have a Genpao, and Weavile is a decent on, and the Weavile feels like a lot of like the same roles. It's just like not as strong, like not as fast, which is obviously why it's like 4 to like 5 points cheaper than Pow. I don't think that the Axel nerf is actually very consequential for draft because most people, or like a lot of people, didn't run Axel in draft anyway because of how much more prevalent Helmet is in our general metagame. The knockoff loss sucks, but it's not going to be like a huge dagger for Weavile, mainly because it still fills like the same art killing roles, and with like dark types only getting better, I can really only see. I think that Weavile will end up being fine generally, but like Pow will obviously like take more precedence in Smogon. I think that Weave will probably end up being like Yu and Smogon or something.
Yeah, I guess that was that was poor choice of words. I guess it's not going to be overshadowed, but I feel like I don't know. When I look at it, I feel like its value went down a little bit. At least for me. Like I don't know if I would value it where we have it right now.
I think that's like less to do with Pow and just like to do with like the knockoff loss, which is fair enough.
Yeah.
But
maybe I'll change my mind over time. I do forget that some of these mons do have access to Terra. Routinely I keep forgetting that, and I'm like, oh yeah, I guess that makes that mon, just as strong, if not on par what it was before.
I don't know if it crazy helps Weavile, but like it'll definitely. I mean, I guess like you can't really go wrong with like terrestrializing a Weavile, but yeah.
Hmm.
Are there any last questions, or are we wrapping up?
You guys have any other topics you wanna talk about, bring up?
I think we like covered mostly what we like wanted to say.
Yeah, I think we covered like all of the Pokemon that we think will be like pretty good. I guess like if I had to ask like one last question, I know some of the PLA mons were brought up, like Isui and Emirat, and actually that's it really.
Sneasler.
But Sneasler too,
and the genie.
but do you think now that these Pokemon are actually in an actual gen, we get to play with them? What do you think? What do you think of how they'll be? Like stuff like Basculegion, Ursaluna, Hisuian Zoroark, etc. Stuff like that. Like,
oh, dude, we didn't even like talk about Legion. Yeah, that mon is gonna be insane, and we all know why.
Last respects.
yeah.
Legion got options. That's all I'm gonna say.
Did he get foot turn too?
It did not.
No.
Oh damn.
But Legion got options.
Yeah, I don't understand how this Pokemon has adaptability last respects or Swift Swimmer last respects. That is dumb.
No. That's crazy.
Now, low key, the female form might just be the better one. Low key.
I mean, again, like I was kind of like thinking like the same thing, and like I was like talking about it with like some others like today. Like, does like the difference in attack really matter when it's like a 300 BP move? And the answer is
It's
No.
only a
No.
not really.
I think it's a 20-point difference, but at
Yeah.
the same time, having that special option is pretty nice.
Right.
I mean, especially since the male Basculegion, or the Basculegion in general, doesn't really have a strong physical ghost move outside of Last Respects.
Until Last Respects is ready to go.
Because at least you can pack on like a Shadow Ball.
Yeah.
I don't know what water moves it got. Probably got Surf.
I think it gets Pump.
Yeah, because I used this mon. I used the female form during like the PLA Gen 8 draft leagues. And that mon was like the moveset was pretty garbage. Like only had access to like Water Pulse and then like Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, and like Jet. That was like mainly all it could run. But yeah, I definitely thought the female form was better just because it could still probably run a mixed set, which I think was a little bit more valuable than the male form. And especially now, like with Last Respects, like that's really the only notable difference between the two mons is like that attack stat. So I just didn't think it was that big of a deal.
And also, like, generally, with how strong the Last Respects is again, like, you can also just run, like, full special with the Last Respects tacked on. Like, you can run, like, Pump, Shadow Ball, Ice Beam, and then Last Respects Slash or something like that.
For sure.
Because it doesn't really need that much investment to, like, hit hard. Because, it's
Right.
Mon is kind of crazy.
Last Respects, which is more value.
It's still
more value.
It's still adaptability boosted. It's still stab if you're just running Swift Swim. It'll be fine. So
Yeah, and that's probably more valuable than what Milk can do on a general basis.
Sadly, Pelipper is not that great, but Mon will still be good. And Rain, of course.
Right.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about the lack of distribution for Toxic and Scald?
Good.
I think it's
Scald is kind of sad. I don't
No,
care.
it isn't. What the
Scald is sad.
But no, it
I
isn't.
understand the Scald, bro.
nice. I feel like knockoff is such a good move with no drawback. It's better. I think the fact that we're in this dark type meta and that these mods actually have to run a dark move that's not knockoff, to me, I think is just way healthier. I think it just makes it like way more balanced. Knockoff literally is the best move in the game. And Toxic as well. I think it just opens up a lot more mods to succeed. No longer do I have to worry about the mod I'm supposed to be checking toxicing me, and now I'm not checking it. Like I just enjoy that a lot. Very good.
I feel like it also changes how people approach getting chip on certain threats. There's going to be a greater emphasis on like obviously hazards. Priority is going to be a big thing, and then like even how you pivot around certain mons. Now you don't have like toxic chip. You can like stall things down, put it in range, or like obviously assess a certain check by toxicing it, like you mentioned, burning it with Scald, especially setup threats. I feel like it's definitely beneficial for offensive, on like the offensive metagame, but I don't know. I feel like some mons definitely miss it. Of course, kind of change the viability of some of these mons.
Right. I think an example of a mon that got like, well, this mon like already was like super fire, but a mon that like pretty much lost all of it, a lot of its viability was Aldamola. That mon lost Scald, knockoff, and toxic. So like, but a lot of bulky waters, mainly like the passive ones, I would say, get like a little worse and stuff like that because every mon ran Scald, like Slowbro, Slow King, Suicune, Swampert sometimes, Vaporeon, etc. They ran Scald, and I'm with Rye. I appreciate being able to like not worry about my offensive threats switching into water types and being burnt and stuff like that. And I also like the distribution of knockoff is like less as a whole because that mon so many Pokemon get, and it's just like literally free. Even on Pokemon that just aren't like strong, especially physically offensive wise, they can just run knockoff because it's just a good move to click. So I think it will be something to get used to, but I'm fine with it overall. Like
Setup
Yeah,
Pokemon are really thriving. Setup mons are thriving. No more Scald burns. No more being toxic when you're trying to set up. They're thriving. I love to see it.
It's definitely going to feel weird to be able to, you can just hard pivot one of your like bigger threats in on like a water type, especially a passive one.
I can switch in my dragon into a water. Crazy thought, honestly. Like,
I mean, like, basically just kind of like echoing what everybody else said. I do not like knockoff's influence. I do not like Scald's influence, and I am glad that we have a metagame where they are not as omnipresent anymore because they are two of the top 3 moves in the game probably, or like something close to that. Knockoff is 1, and like Scald is probably like top 5 or something.
Yeah, we're eating good.
Yeah. I guess like the only negative thing is like I don't like the lack of defog, but like that's like another thing. Or like I think it could. I think it makes for. I think it makes for like a more a unique meta. It's just not something I personally like because I like not being dominated by spikes the whole game.
Yeah, especially with some new like moves and ability mechanics, like obviously like Ceaseless Edge, you set up spikes just doing damage, and then I think like Glamora, for example, has the ability where like if it gets hit, it sets up toxic spikes.
Correct.
Yeah, like it's not that I yeah or like
Go ahead.
oh yeah. I don't know. It's not that I dislike more mods getting spikes or like defog being limited by themselves, but I dislike that both of them happen in a sense.
Yeah, and I mean they still have a fair distribution of spin removal, but then obviously the ghost types, there's a lot like a greater prevalence of them, especially at the top. And you mentioned I think with like Goldango like being a spin blocker, defog blocker, all in one mon.
Before we get out of here, there's one last topic I think we should discuss. That is what will be the king weather. Because I was just analyzing, right? And while your first thought may be sun, of course, because of the new paradox mons, I think each weather really did get some nice, very nice tools.
What did Rain get?
Basket Legion.
Basket Legion.
Is that it?
That's all it
Do
is.
you need something
Well, no,
else?
Nah,
and also got
I-
Malifin too.
Yeah, I just want to see what are y'all's rankings of the weathers currently. I think that each one got some pretty nice buffs, even though a lot of the weather mods are like the weather setters are kind of trash. They each got some type of addition that really helps. I can run down some of the additions as well. For Rain, we got the addition of Basket Legion, and not to mention Dreadnought, of course, with its Shell Smash and Swift Swim and Strong Jaw. All that is very nice. Then for Sun, we have the Paradox mods, of course. And then for Hail, we have the Chilly Reception with mods like Titan and the ice types available, like Xian Pao and Iron Bundle. And then for Sand, we have the dog Houndstone with Last Respects. So yeah.
Is that like the only sand abuser, or is there another like other ones?
You have Lycanroc.
Ugh.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah, that's the only sand
Yeah.
user.
No, dude, it's not even like the good Lycanroc. It's a Lycanroc midday.
Yeah, bro.
Ugh.
Oh, yeah, so
That
so
Sand's
it's
It's looking
probably
dicey.
the worst. Sand's
Yeah.
probably gonna be the worst, to be honest. Like
It's
it
also
only
the
has one abuser.
yeah. Plus, it's still the only weather that does damage to you. So
Right. I think
I will
Snow has
say-
a lot of good things going for it. Like I think the idea of Snow boosting defense for ice types is really cool, and it like heavily promotes some mods like Excalibur, for example. That having an extra defense boost to help it, like whether it be set up or throw off attacks, or even Iron Bundle, because that mon already has a massively good defense stat for some unknown reason.
There's
It
just
just
a lot
helps
of
so much.
very top tier ice types.
You know what's crazy too? Excalibur can run Ice Body too, like and just be fat.
With his bulk, with his
Yeah.
bulk, it's very nice.
Yeah.
I'm actually like gonna kind of be like that guy and say that I don't think that like the changes to weather because like Raz said, most of the shitters are very okay. Well, most of the setters are shitters. So like I don't think that it's gonna be a prominent like enough style to really take a large grip on Draft League. I will say though that Hail seems like easily or actually like Snow now. It definitely seems to have like the best like applications. And while I don't think like Hail like as a style will be prominent, I think that like Harris said like mons like like Baxcalibur Iron Bundle, I think that more mons will be able to take advantage of hail than like any other by far. And also because like the main hail setter is going to be, I guess, like Slowking, which is like
Yeah,
a
'cause-
very valuable mon outside of hail.
Hey, don't
As
forget
well.
about the
Bro, the
tree,
most social
young
games-
Abomasnow.
Ooh,
Ooh,
kind of
he's
clean.
fire too. He's fire too.
Vamos knows go.
Bombs are clean.
Correct.
And it should get the
Um,
Roselle.
Well, it gets a defense boost and it gets a roar bell. This mon is fire.
Oh yeah, I'm out looking everything.
And Rain will probably always be viable. It's draft. Like Rain's like never not bad. Pelipper is a shitter, yes, but like we don't have as many rain abusers because we get one in home with Basket Legion, and Bearskeet is in the game, so it's something at least. And like Veno said earlier, Palafin and just other water types in general.
I'd probably rate it like probably like snow, then rain, and then sun, and then like a large gap, and then sand.
You put no weather in it. Sand.
But the dog is clean though.
No, dude, the dog is not clean.
Bro, the dog is clean.
Nah.
Whoever
don't know
thought that
about it
this
yet.
mod would have been banned.
At this point, I wouldn't
Like,
even.
Iron Bundle Rain. That sounds kind of heat. I can't lie. Like
I mean, like so does Iron Bundle Hail.
Iron Bundle in general. Like, but
The only thing
Rain
about
is
Iron Bundle that sucks is that the only water move is Hydro Pump.
Yeah.
And we know how,
Really?
we know how we get.
Good
We
luck
miss.
hitting. Good luck hitting.
Yeah.
Ooh, yeah, that's actually like kind of rough. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Only water.
It's only Flip Turn and Hydro Pump. I'm pretty sure that's only
not to
viable.
worry. Not to worry. You get Water Pulse and Chilling Water. That's something.
Oh yeah. Let's go.
Yo,
Can also-
Whirlpool.
Can also just Terra into water.
Ooh.
Terra Blast.
Oh yeah, Terra Water. True.
Yeah. At that point, it just becomes adaptability. So like an adaptability boost and Terra
Hey,
Water.
I might-
You just do like.
Yeah, this mon Iron Bundle gotta go.
Yeah, I might draft this shit in LD now. That was good to
We'll
go.
have
Orange
fun
Moon,
using it
yeah.
in LD this season.
But with that, are we wrapping up?
Yeah,
I
we
think
can.
we covered everything we need to cover.
Yeah, it was a pretty lengthy set of discussions we've had.
Hefty.
Yeah, no, we hope that you all watching this will be able to take something about the new Gen 9 meta from this, and we hope that everybody will have a very fun time playing Gen 9 Pokemon with all your friends.
So wholesome.
It was so funny, man.
This meta will be something.
I pray for our stall players. I pray they adapt. I pray everyone can adapt to the demons in this meta.
I pray for no more weakness policy cheese, no
That's
screen
what I'm
cheese.
saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. I pray for weakness policy to die. I pray for that we. Yeah, dude.
Bro,
We're gonna see
I
more
pray
of
them to
that.
die off.
We just honestly really had a hold on everybody for the whole gen. Bro, that's the
We're
only way
definitely
we
gonna see more
get
of it.
progress. Oh, man.
Yeah, dude. My last message to all the viewers out there is: if I see you try to create in this offensive meta, the only creation that you can make is weakness policy. Please look at another item in the build, bro. I'm big. Please.
Retire. Your time is done.
Yeah, right.
We'll see how long that lasts.
I don't know, man. We is possibly gonna be the death of us.
Okay, we got mirror. Like,
True.
Oh yeah, Mirror. I forgot that exists. All right. Guess thank you to all of our guests and a fellow co-host.
Yes,
Appreciate you coming on. This was a fun little thing to set up and actually end up doing. Yeah, hopefully we can carry on this conversation to other podcasts, fellow viewers, and maybe you guys, if you want to come back, if something prominent comes up with the meta changes or I guess when like team tour season comes around, because I know PWS is gonna start up soon.
We can also talk about leagues.
But yeah, I hope everyone who's listened enjoyed, and yeah, we'll see you for the next one.
Deuces.
Bye.
Peace.